We all love Pixar, from Toy Story to Wally, from Nemo to Monsters Inc. They're the funny films that we watch again and again. But what if I told you that there's a Pixar theory that united all the films into one universe that could rival the MCU on scale? And in it, there's animal uprisings, mutations, and climate disaster on an apocalyptic level. That's right, it takes all the Pixar films and puts them into one long timeline. So the Pixar theory started with a man called John Negroni, who thinks about Pixar way more than you and me do. We start about 65 million years ago with The Good Dinosaur, and this is the film that sets out all the rules for the Pixar theory. So it begins with a meteor that hits the planet and destroys the dinosaurs missing. And because it misses, this allows the dinosaurs to evolve and become intelligent to the point where they start doing things like farming and chores. And they assume if they carried on, they'd have things like Netflix and a dinosaur fortnight. What's important is we see the intelligence in animals rise. Even though the dinosaurs die out and we survive and thrive, it's the starting point of what could be in the Pixar universe. So, animals become intelligent to a point where later on we might see a dog talk. Hi there. Or a rat cook dinner.
Oh, I'm detecting nuttiness.
So cut to roughly the 11th century with Brave. Now humans are thriving, but what's important for us is the witch. The witch uses magic, and the magic is the basis of all the Pixar universe. It's used to make inanimate objects come to life and animals to behave like humans.
Sorry, I don't speak bear.
And not only this, the witch is theorised to be Boo from Monsters Inc. That's right. The reason is she uses doors to time travel, and the idea is that after Monsters Inc., she searches for Sully and somehow ends up in 11th century Scotland. Cut to the 50s and 60s with Incredibles and Incredibles 2. Now, originally the supers were there to keep the world safe from evil, until the world starts to reject them. And that is until Buddy shows up and reminds the world about superheroes. Now Buddy's important for two things. He invents AI, which is self-serving, and he also invents zero energy. Both of these things are important in the future, and both of these things stem from the magic in Brave. By the 90s, we see toys come to life for the first time. Now, we know they live in secret and they have societies, but they're hidden. And all we know at this point is they have a special relationship with humans that somehow brings them to life. Bank that for later. By Toy Story 2, we see that toys are starting to learn that it's dangerous to be isolated from humans, and they're starting to hide and form their own societies. By 2003, we have Finding Nemo and Finding Nemo 2, where the animals are doing something similar. They're building their own societies that are quite advanced and intelligent. They have things like schools and highways. The two things here that are important though are the toys and animals are learning to resent and fear humans. Whoa! In 2007, we get Ratatouille. This is the first time since The Good Dinosaur that we see humans and animals directly interact. We see Remy being drawn towards human culture, and we also see humans realizing that animals might be getting intelligent around them. Hey. In 2010, we get Toy Story 3. The toys by now are beginning to get sick of humans. They resent them for picking them up, putting them down, forgetting them, losing them, and growing old. We see toys like Lotso the Hugging Bear, who really resents humans, and he unites other toys. We see the first signs of an early rebellion and the idea that they don't need humans. We also get our first glimpse of BNL, by and large, the mega corporation that was seen on Buzz's batteries and maybe linked to the uprising to come. Also, just fun to note, you can see a postcard from Up on Andy's notice board and an adult Sid Phillips. He's the garbage man. Just fun. In Up, we see a corporation trying to buy the land that Carl lives on, and we don't know it for sure, but we can assume that it is the By and Large corporation and that the building is foreshadowing from the pollution that will destroy the Earth. Carl leaves the city and becomes aware that animals are becoming intelligent, and not only that they're beginning to resent humans.
Oh, I can bark.
Charles Muntz taps into this, and using collars on his dogs that we assume is powered by the zero energy or the magic, begins to train an army of dogs to rise up against the humans in what may later become the war with animals and humans. Say what?
Do not just continue sitting. Attack!
In 2015's Inside Out, we start to get to understand how it all works because we get to see inside our own head. What we learn there is the magic and the energy that we use is human emotion, and that all emotions have power and some are more powerful than others, the most powerful being joy. And this is especially prominent in children. That's why toys will come to life because of it, and they will crave human joy. It's also why the monsters in Monsters Inc. will later power their society off it and learn that it's more powerful than fear. But hold on, we're not there yet. We're nearly there though. Coco will then add to this idea with the idea of memory. Memory is important because it keeps us alive in the afterlife until we finally forget someone and they have their final death and disappear, much in the same way Bing Bong disappears in Inside Out, or toys and the supers fade as we begin to forget them. And that pretty much ends time as we know it, because we now jump to the future.
The future!
Now a lot happens between Coco and Cars 1, 2 and 3. We don't know exactly what happens, but the theory suggests that at some point there's a war between animals and humans after they uprise because they resent us, and then we have this big war and we use technology, which is now becoming sentient, to basically fight them. It's not nice, but it's what the theory says. We just about survive, but the planet is so polluted by this point that we leave it for things like cars and robots such as Wally. It's also noted at this point that we do believe the pollution is largely to do with by and large corporation because we see them in the background. So now we're in Wally. So in Wally we see the humans leave the planet and live in space. Wally is one of the last robots left there to clean it up. Now Wally maintains his personality and his life for one reason, and this is something we've learned already. Wally is attracted to human memorabilia. So the memories of humans and that magic keeps him alive until eventually he finds the humans and brings them back to Earth, and they plant a seed. That seed becomes a tree, and that tree becomes the tree in Bug's Life. In A Bug's Life, the planet is thriving. It's covered in green, and the insects have formed complex societies, and they built cities out of our garbage, the garbage we saw in Wall-E. Now, we don't know where humans are. They might be a spooky story that bugs tell their kids. They might be off in space. We just don't know. What we do know is that the insects are evolving and eventually mutating. That's right. The theory is that the BNL left radiation that mutates the bugs and the animals, and they eventually become the monsters that we see in Monsters University.
I will be a beautiful butterfly.
That's right, the monsters in Monsters University and Monsters Inc. are actually mutated animals and insects that have evolved and formed a society whereby they use the tech and magic from before to time travel using doors to go back and harness energy from humans in the form of fear. As I say, we know emotional energy is powerful, but they also are aware of what humans did to the Earth, so they've created this myth that humans are toxic, so the mistakes of the past aren't repeated.
Watch yourself. Stand back. Careful.
By the time we get to Monsters Inc. and Sully goes back to meet Boo, we discover that laughter, as we discovered in Inside Out, and joy is more powerful than fear, and they use that energy to power their society. Unfortunately for Sully, he has to leave Boo behind, and Boo starts to look for Sully, discovers the same magic, uses doors to travel back to the time of Brave, and the whole cycle begins again, and that's the Pixar theory. And with every new film, it ties into this somehow, and it gets more complicated and bigger, and it just keeps growing. Is there something we missed out in the Pixar theory? Let us know in the comments. Did you enjoy it? Let us know in the comments. Is there something that you can add to the theory? Let us know in the comments. We'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.